Okay, today I'm going to read the final part 4 of chapter 4 in Belonging to Life, The Journey to Awakening by Mary O'Malley. Why do I keep saying O'Malley? Is it a tongue twister? No. This is part of the reason why I do my audiobook readings. I have a lot of esophagus issues, and it is important for me to exercise my voice every day. And so I could sit here behind the barn myself every day and read to myself, but I don't, and I won't, and I've tried, and I can't, because I am a very expressive person, and it is much more fun for me to read a book when I can read it aloud to my flock. My name is Natalie. I'm the Good Shepherd here on our small hobby farm in central North Carolina. And the sheep are out in the fields, and that's always my time to begin to read, because my sheep really don't like when I read. So let's go ahead and dive right in. Look at this. Yesterday I was wearing a tank top, 86 degrees, and today it's 44 degrees. I can't believe this weather. The final part 4 of chapter 4, including the difficult. A returning practice strengthens the muscle of our attention so that we can be awake for our own lives. To see the benefits of adding a time every day where we listen to ourselves and to our lives, discovering the joy of belonging to life, we need to explore the role of pain in awakening. It hurts to stub our toe, to give birth, to watch a loved one die. Our standard relationship with the difficult and challenging times in our lives has been to get away as fast as we can. We take pills, overeat, or become terribly busy. If these don't work, we try to manage, fix, and understand. Very rarely do we meet the difficulties with a keen curiosity and a heartfelt compassion. I think it's the cold weather. I have autoimmune issues too, and everything in my health is greatly affected by the weather. This is why I loved living in Florida for 10 years, and it's been a really difficult winter for me. It affects everything. Let me see if I can get my words together here. The place where we can learn how to do this is in our returning practice. Rather than being something to ignore or annihilate, the uncomfortable parts of our quiet times can help us to transform our whole relationship to the difficulties of our lives. During a sit, the difficult whispers to us, "Don't run away. Be with me, and I will show you the doorway to freedom." The greatest teacher we have to invite us out of struggle is the pain in our lives. If we are lucky, the things we don't like about our lives will not leave and will become even louder and more insistent over time. They will cause us to try everything we can think of in order to get rid of them until the only option we are left with is to pay attention. That which we don't like highlights for us the labyrinth of struggle that we live in and repeatedly gives us clues about the way out. There is no accident that in most fairy tales, the treasure is hidden in the cave where the dragon lives, in the castle where the evil prince holds court, or in the lake where the serpent abides. The old style of solving difficulties says, "Don't go near these unwanted guests." The new style realizes that what we truly are includes the dark and the light, the comfortable and the uncomfortable, and it uses the dark to help awaken us. These unpleasant visitors carry the keys to the door of the labyrinth of struggle. This is not to say that we should never manage, control, fix, and try to understand. These techniques are useful at times on the path of our awakening and will continue to be so, but they will only take us so far. We are now ready to add the ability to be with what is, especially that which disturbs us. It is in learning how to respond rather than react that we become free. I'm going to circle this and I'm going to star it again. That is huge right here. I'm going to repeat that paragraph. This is not to say that we should never manage, control, fix, and try to understand. These techniques are useful at times on the path of our awakening and will continue to be so, but they will only take us so far. We are now ready to add the ability to be with what is, especially that which disturbs us. It is in learning how to respond rather than react that we become free. Could I have that on my headstone? We will explore in depth a little later how to respond to the different pains we experience rather than reacting. But for now, here's a story that will give you a sense of what this looks like. Imagine coming home one day to find a monster sitting in your living room. "What are you doing here?" you ask with great indignation. Getting no response, irritation takes over and you order him out of the house. He doesn't move. Racing into the kitchen, you ask the other family members about this intruder and nobody has a clue. Returning to the living room, you announce that you are going to call the police and he still does not respond. Calling 911, you say, "There is an emergency. A monster has moved into my house and I want you to take him away." I have to stop, and I'm going to share this for the first time ever in any of my social media videos. I moved in with my mother-in-law with my husband and family 2.5 years ago. My mother-in-law and I don't have a beautiful relationship, and yet I had beautiful dreams and visions of a multi-generational family moving into a farm, home and atmosphere. I really had dreams, and yet it didn't happen. And I became this monster, I believe. So let's continue. Calling 911, you say, "There is an emergency. A monster has moved into my house, and I want you to take him away." My mother-in-law did have my sister-in-law call the police on me back in October of 2025 when I told my mother-in-law the truth about life, and she didn't like the truth. And that's what I continue to struggle with in my own Good Shepherd ways every day, is that's all I can speak is the truth, because I'm not here for games, and I'm not here for war. And yet, unfortunately, when the truth hurts such persons in such ways, they come back with weapons of mass destruction. This monster has moved into my house and I want you to take him away. Kindly but firmly, they tell you that this is not their job. You call social services, moving companies, and even the zoo, hoping to get rid of this unwanted guest. My sister-in-law worked at the zoo and she called the zoo on me because of all my chickens, and I got really sick right after they called the police on me with E. coli, salmonella, giardia, all this different stuff. And she came back at me, my sister-in-law. "I told the zoo people about you. They said they can't believe you're even alive." Like, you don't even know my life, woman. This is awful. I can't believe I'm reading this. I read this book like 12 years ago. And I've read it like 3 times since then. And I'm reading it aloud now for the first time. And I'm like, whoa, every day I read whatever I read, I'm like, this is my life. I can't believe this. Nothing works. In desperation, you even toy for a while with the idea of calling in a hitman. Oh my God, yes, and I was threatened for my life and my flock's life. I was told they were going to kill my flock. You even toy for a while with the idea of calling in a hitman. Your Uncle Joey could probably arrange it, but that is too abhorrent for your tastes. Being a good student of consciousness-raising practices, you decide that since you create your reality, he is only here because you have not yet figured something out. So off to counseling you go. You describe this stranger in your living room, and the counselor takes you back into childhood, discovering a trauma here and there. You let go of a big chunk of self-judgment. With a sense of relief, you go home, fully expecting that the monster will be gone. It isn't. So now you decide that it was bad karma from a past life. Off you go to be regressed and discover a life when you were the underdog, and he represents all of the people who persecuted you. Things begin to make sense. This understanding brings deeper layers of mercy, and again, with great hope, you enter the living room, only to discover that the monster is still there. The sense that he would be gone if only you could figure it all out and understand how to do this right begins to eat at your heart. The edges of despair flood your being. But with great strength, you resolve that you will just try harder and then it will have to work. Everything you have done so far has made it easier for you to live with him, but you still want him gone. Thinking that you are responsible for everything, you close your eyes and say powerful affirmations, repeating to yourself over and over again, I am healed, and this irritant is gone from my life. You feel more empowered as you say these words, and you know that he is evaporating right now as you speak. In a very confident move, you take a peek through your closed eyes, only to discover that he is still there. So you call on your friends to come and do a healing circle, cleansing your house with sage and cedar and visualizing white light surrounding and transforming this unwanted guest. The atmosphere in the house is lighter and clearer, but he isn't gone. As your friends leave, they assure you that all you have to do is continue these practices and eventually he will leave. After all, they remind you, you are in charge of your life. Then, after a particularly rigorous week of counseling, affirming, and visualizing, it begins to sink into your consciousness that maybe he isn't going to leave. If that is the case, you say, I will at least make him more presentable. You call in a barber and a fashion designer to spiffy him up, and it does become a little bit easier to live with him. He is not quite as scary and abhorrent. But one morning, sitting on the couch and doing all of the varied practices that promised to get rid of this uncomfortable visitor, the feelings of deep grief and rage at yourself begin to overwhelm you. If I create my reality, you say, then I am a failure. Nobody else has a monster in their living room. They all do, but they never speak about it. And if I can't get rid of mine, there must be something terribly wrong with me. You collapse on the floor in a flood of tears, self-judgment, and hopelessness. In the middle of this storm, you hear very faintly a melodious voice. Ask me why I am here. In shock, you look up at the monster. In this whole time, he had never before spoken. What did you say? You ask in amazement. Ask me why I'm here. He repeats. Well, I don't want to talk to you. You are the enemy. I didn't invite you into my home. You came unbidden and are deeply unwelcome, you respond. In a huff, you turn your back to him. What have you got to lose, he asks. Nothing else has worked. I haven't gone away. I can't believe this whole situation. I can't believe this. In your desperation, you realize that this is true. Picking yourself up out of the heap of self-failure you have fallen into, you slowly approach him. This whole time, you've never come any closer than 10 feet. Your heart is racing wildly. This is the enemy. What am I doing? I must be crazy. If I get close, he will beat me, rape me, and maybe even murder me. These are the very words Pansy said. Oh my God. But your desperation urges you on. As you sit down on the chair across from him, the question, what is, bubbles up from the depth of your being. This takes you out of resistance to the monster, and a surge of joy races through your body. You recognize the power of becoming curious about the monster, rather than living to and in reaction. As you hone your curiosity, the first thing you notice is that the monster has kind eyes. Why, you have beautiful eyes, you say, and they aren't even twinkling with joy and laughter. Why have I never noticed before? Because you made me the enemy, he says in his melodious and healing voice. I am not your enemy. I have come from the depths of your being in order to awaken you. I am not here to disturb you, even though I do evoke that in your mind. I am not here to harm you, even though I do bring up your fear. I am your destiny, highlighting the labyrinth of struggle that keeps you separate from all that you yearn for. If you listen to that which is upsetting in your life, it will teach you that there is no there that you need to get to. No mythical place where everything will finally be fixed, understood, managed, and controlled. The healing is in learning how to show up for the dance exactly as it is appearing. Beneath all of this becoming, trying, and doing that you live in most of the time, what you yearn for is right here in present time. The way to get here is not to try to get here. It is to simply see the illusion of struggle that stands between you and the freedom that you are. In some corner of your being, you know that what he says is true. Rather than wanting to run away, you begin to listen to this monster, and your heart begins to melt. You truly are my friend, you say. His laughing eyes answer, yes. And you have been waiting a long time for me to pay attention and listen to what you have to say. With a big sigh, he affirms this truth. Even with this connection, at moments you fear and confusion take over, but you notice the kindness in his eyes, and again you find yourself present for this former enemy. Something he has said over and over again finally becomes clear to you. Life is for you. Who you really are includes both the dark and the light, and it uses the dark as a tool of awakening. When you understand this, it becomes evident that your life, all of it, is trustable. It then is easier to show up for your own adventure, for the moment that life appears out of mystery. The words he spoke are true, and they quiet the racing of your mind and open the fist around your heart. As you begin to drink from the nectar of truth, however, fear begins to take over again. This is so beautiful and so right, but I'm afraid I will forget, you say. I'm afraid I will make you the enemy again. You will, he says, but that is okay. Remembering and forgetting are a part of the process. Right now, the most skillful thing you can do is to be willing to pay attention to me. That intention, the willingness to listen rather than ignore and communicate rather than manage, will take you out of the labyrinth of struggle, birthing you into freedom. The monsters in our lives, that which contracts, disturbs, disgusts, terrifies, and confuses us, are here to bring us into our center. It takes great courage to even begin to let go of our resistance to what is, moving towards our experience instead of away from it. But it is in meeting our immediate experience that we discover that our monsters come from the depth of our own being to heal us, not to destroy us. As a friend of mine says, what's in the way is the way. I'm so sorry, but there is gunfire not too far from my farm. While I live in the country and gunfire is, not usually cause for concern, it's not something I normally hear. To begin to relate to thought, rather than being lost in it by living in the question, what is allows us to see the conversation in our heads. In the beginning, we only see bits and pieces of our stories, pieces that seem unconnected. But slowly over time, we become able to see the whole layout from beginning to end. Seeing the story we took on in its entirety allows us to discover a place beyond the story, the place where we are awareness itself. In discovering this, we become present for life in a keenly attentive and deeply compassionate way. An image that can illustrate this is one of a magical land that is filled with beauty and wonder. But there is something very puzzling about this world. All of the people live underground. They're going to start to get crazy here, and I'm almost done. They have burrowed deeply into unconsciousness and only rarely surface to experience life above ground, the place of being awake to life. As they have lived underground for years, they have lost trust in this land. And when they do come above ground, there are all sorts of things and experiences that cause them to again dive underground, burrowing back into their story of wanting, fearing, and numbing out. But as they learn how to see the underground stories that keep them separate from life, they begin to live above ground again. The more and more moments of true exhilaration then come when they make immediate moment-to-moment contact with life. Just like the people in this imaginary land, as we explore being open to life, we discover that life is for us, and that the doorway to the healing we yearn for is to show up for our lives. Not as we want it to be, but as it is. There's hawks everywhere right now. This is so, I can't even believe any of this. I love this. I love my life. It becomes easier to see that there are no accidents in what is happening in our lives. On the surface, it may look like meetings, parties, commuting, relationships, shopping, etc. But we realize that behind the surface, something very grand is happening. Life is giving us the exact set of experiences we need to see all the thoughts and feelings we have gotten lost in that keep us underground. As we reconnect with curiosity, wonder, and courage, we discover deep commitment to see what makes us go underground again. As we explore all of the facets of our story, there is a moment when we discover ourselves in a hot air balloon with a view that can see it all. In that place, the unfolding of our lives makes sense. The flavor of the story that we took on makes sense. And what is happening on our planet, all of it makes sense. I just watched the show Touched by an Angel recently, and it was all on a hot air balloon. I'm telling you, this is fascinating, and it's not just me, Natalie. This is why I break into these audiobooks. It's for me. I got like 3 people watching these videos, you know? I'm gonna sit here, do what I wanna do. I'm telling you. It's not just me, and we can all experience what I do experience. But the reality is the beauty that I experience is so denied by those very ones who are supposed to love and accept me. They can't understand how I can have such joy for life. And I'm like, I want you to have the same joy. This is why I share. We have lived underground, lost in our minds, cut off from truly being alive. Slowly and surely, we are being invited back into the living adventure that is life. This is the place where grounding, noticing, naming, and listening are taking us. The place where we will know moments when we are simply awareness itself. Sensations arise and pass away. Sounds appear and disappear. Thoughts come and go, as it all moves through the spaciousness of who we really are. All of it becomes simply a passing show. Nothing to hold on to or push away. Nothing to identify us. We rest in the very center of it all, and at the same time are connected with everything. The more we become awareness itself, the more curiosity becomes the hallmark of our lives. This is my purpose in life, is to share this with people. Rather than struggling, we are moved into engaging. Rather than doubting or fearing, we know a deep and abiding trust. Rather than judging and hating, we become the healing balm of compassion. Rather than managing, we learn to deeply listen to life and act from a place of connection rather than disconnection. And rather than being separate and isolated and alone, we discover ourselves belonging to our own lives. This is the work of a lifetime. It is birthed in the willingness to return over and over and over again to the living moment and to watch with great tenderness what takes us away. At this point of evolution, we have to be content with our gradual awakening as individuals, knowing that as more and more people connect with life, we will experience a collective awakening. And we need to remember that evolution always flows at a seemingly microscopic pace. In this awareness, we will learn to deeply honor even a moment or two out of our day when we are fully here. The power of each precious moment of connection with life is beyond our comprehension. Collectively, they will birth Earth into the next level of its unfolding. And that's the end of chapter 4 completely. We'll move on to chapter 5. Oh, I have no idea how long that chapter is. Whoa, I'm going to have to go back. I've got my Behind Barnway BTF Best Therapist Friend therapy appointment tomorrow. I delight in my weekly therapy because I do talk to angels. I do talk to God. I talk to Jesus. I talk to heaven. I talk to myself. I talk to my flock and animals. And it's been, I guess being able to awaken all these years of my own life and to be able to step back and see, well, I guess I understand, my family's just like, who are you? I'm like, I'm me. And yet, so with life experience and with curiosity and wanting, this is where it all began for me. I'm 52 years old, and I can remember very clearly, going back in my own hindsight, that it was probably after college and maybe a couple years after college and after I got married, that's when I really began myself to yearn to be someone better than what I didn't even know what I was. I was just a woman who went to school, went to college, got married. I wanted more. And I began my own journeys. This is my most favorite book in the whole wide world. It's not really, because I have a lot of favorite books, and yet this is one of them. Thank you for anyone who joined in. Everybody's ready for the Good Shepherd, me, Natalie, to get up and about and to start, start this day.